let's talk a little bit about Project Rick and what that is all about.
I started Project Rick because you keep on hearing how bad social media is, how it's just always negative. I started it actually after my mom died because I wanted to show how people keep on evolving. I want people to see the positives in life. I'm not going to preach that you need to go eat kale, and I'm not going to preach that you need to go lift. I'm going to do what I'm going to do, and I want you to live life. And that's what it's all about to me. That's what Project Rick's about. Positive. You'll never see politics because we all know how we believe. I want you to see, you know what, let's go on this adventure and let's see where we go. When I climbed the 100 peaks, the 100 Crow Peak 100, I called it. The people that I got to meet and the positiveness, if I can put a smile on somebody's face, or if I can have them think, maybe I should do that, that's what it's about to me.
Welcome to the Range Podcast. I'm Ricky Bruley, and with me is Jake Hollywood Iverson. Join us at the archery range, where we'll tell stories from the hunt, discuss technical bow shooting tactics and gear, and pick the brains of some of the most successful people to ever shoot a bow. Whether you're about to shoot that X for the win or send an arrow at a trophy buck, this podcast is for you. The Range Podcast is brought to you by Total Archery, makers of the best bowstrings money can buy, originators of limb-driven arrow rest technology, and innovators of Stokerized stabilizer systems.
So I think that we are live.
We are.
I believe, if it's working correctly, we are live on YouTube, and we're live on the Range Podcast on Facebook, Vapor Trail Facebook page, and the Stokerized Facebook page. But for everybody out there watching, welcome to the Range. My name is Ricky Bruley, and with me today is my good buddy Rick Hanson. And today we're doing a live broadcast here from Terry Peak, South Dakota. We're out here for the Total Archery Challenge.
Yes, sir.
And anybody who's been to a Total Archery Challenge most likely has either seen, heard of, or ran into Rick Hanson.
Probably more heard.
Yeah, from like across the room or whatever.
Yeah,
the laugh, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, just thought we'd take this opportunity to have a little chat and just kind of see how things are going. And I figured I wanted to title this episode "The Tale of Two Ricks."
Yeah, Rick 2.0 for sure.
Rick 2.0. Yeah. So I thought it would be fun to talk about, kind of how we met and like just the whole deal, because we talked a little bit about that over the course of the last couple of days while we've been shooting. I don't know. I'll kind of just let you talk. Like, just go through like the memory that you have of like how we first met and kind of how that all came about.
Well, we've met on the phone.
Yep.
We were talking when it was back in the Pimp My Bow days.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, how long ago was that? We were talking about that earlier.
It was 2009, I think. And I guess maybe to give a little background on that too, I was working for Sportsman's Warehouse at the time, and then they shut down the stores in the Midwest. And I was working with a guy by the name of Randy Herman, and so he had this idea that we would basically pimp bows.
Yep.
And that's exactly what we did. We just took bows and we stripped the old paint off of them, and we did cool anodization stuff and camo dipping and all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
And I had at that time I had a Bowtech Destroyer that you guys made really pretty. As just a beautiful red. Everything was just gorgeous on it.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking, and then you guys did a bow for Bowcast, because it was Bowcast at the Bird before it was Total Archery Challenge.
Yep.
And you guys were taking a bow up there, and me and a couple buddies, Justin Raber and Tanner Seeley, went down that year, and we rolled in at like 2 o'clock in the morning. I slept under. We were the first people in the Snowbird parking lot, and I think we were the first people to sign up that day. That's before, of course, tea times or anything like that. And we knew we were going to meet you that day, and we went up to the top of, it was at Midgad.
Yep.
And it was interesting because, you come to a Bowcast or Total Archery Challenge, look at how long have we been friends since then?
Yeah. Since it's been, well, that'd make 14, going on 15 years.
Yeah. I mean, it was just awesome. And we went up to Midgard, and you had a little booth there for Pimp My Bow anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And then we went from there, and we shot that day, and we became friends at after hours.
Yeah.
And we had a lot of fun after hours. I mean, we were both younger.
Yeah.
I'm still older than you, but
little more spry.
Exactly. And then we, and I just remember the second day because I don't know who would be listening, but when we were up at Midgard, there was a shot that it was just a cool shot, and I have a picture of you and Justin Raber. It's a poster.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And that was it was just a fun day, and then me and you came with us to shoot that day.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, that was I think I went out with 7 arrows and ended up, you guys finished the course without me. I was just following along like a little puppy. But do you remember that? Do you remember that sheep, that doll sheep that was behind the rock?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And do you remember, where you hit the rock? I mean, it was just a tight shot, and it went straight up in the air, and we're just going, that is cool. But I think there was people in front of us that day, and the arrow went up, and it looked like it's going to come down towards them.
Yeah, the wind started pushing the arrow, and it's like, man, that's crazy. Because you'd hit that rock, and that arrow would just shoot straight up in the air.
It was, and that's what we remember. That.
Yeah.
Do you remember any good shots?
Your memory serves you really well, because that's why I wanted you to kind of tell some of the story, because I remember the shot that you took, the really cool one where we were at the steep angle, but like you said, it's the misses that makes the memories, right?
It is, and when we go to these shoots, I mean, we have lots of misses, but we have lots of fun.
Mm.
But this is what it's about to me. It's it's about remembering these things, and we can laugh about these, and we'll go have a beer, and just those are the memories we remember.
Yep.
And I enjoy those things. I mean, those were the fun times, and the other shots, I don't know if I remember more, because then you guys started coming, and you were more in the booth, or we didn't get to shoot with you because you were taking off. We were all taking off at different times then.
Yeah.
But it was just, it's the afterwards, and you shot with us a few more times after that. Mm-hmm. But I mean, it's the afterwards and the friendship that we've had. I mean, it's amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then just all, what's led into like all, we haven't had really an opportunity to have many hunting adventures, but just communicating and just talking, and hey man, when I first started hunting South Dakota, you gave me some pretty good leads, and
maybe too good of leads.
Got us into some areas that we killed some stuff.
Because you shot a nice buck in South Dakota, maybe I gave you too good of a lead. Maybe I should have kept that a secret.
Perhaps. Well,
I'm just kidding you.
No, I mean, I'll give you this though. I'll give you this because you didn't give away the secret.
No.
And I totally get that, right?
No.
And but it was oh boy, what's his name? Dustin. He used to own bow sticks.
Yep, I know who you're talking about.
He sent me to the spot where I ended up finally getting on deer, and then I come to find out that that's a place that you and yours like to frequent as well. So, which is good, and but I haven't gone out since since they've kind of tightened things up with non-residents, and I get that. I was a little bit bitter about it in the beginning, but I get it. Because it's just, there was getting to be a lot of people coming in there, and
I mean, there's a lot of hunters that there's a lot of people out there hunting nowadays. I reckon that, I would prefer South Dakota to go back to October 1st.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to get political here, but I do think it's crazy that a resident can go hunt a month before a non-resident.
Yeah, it is kind of a strange deal, and I know Jesse was saying too that the like the conservation officers and stuff don't really appreciate it either, because now there's all these new rules and all kinds of different things they got to pay attention to, and
Yeah.
you know, but
Anyway, whatever.
Yep.
We're here at TSC to have fun. And
Yep.
How much
good.
foam did we, we killed a lot of animals today.
Yeah, we did.
You know?
Yeah, today we did the prime course this morning. Got out there at what time did we get up there? 6?
It was about 5:30ish.
5:30. Beautiful weather today.
It was.
Just took our time, shot our way down, let a couple groups go through.
Exactly.
Let a couple celebrities come through, just so we didn't have to.
Yeah.
So they couldn't watch us shoot and make us all nervous.
That's right, But that's where we have learned that's what that's about. If you're, we're a different group than maybe some, but we're there taking pictures. We're enjoying the views.
Yeah.
We're giving each other a little heck about misses, and we're congratulating everybody on good hits.
Yeah.
And we had a couple, Sam was with us, Sam Soholt.
Yeah.
And
professional photographer with us today.
Yeah.
We're big time.
Oh, it was great. Yeah. But no, we letting people keep on passing through.
Yeah.
And keep on enjoying what we're doing. And we shot the 132-yard moose.
Yeah.
And you smoked it.
Yeah, luckily.
No, you're good,
I was happy to hit it, but yeah, I broke my arrow, but that's okay.
Yeah.
That's what we're here to do, man.
Yeah.
Like you said, those the misses make the memories.
Yes.
I like the way that sounds.
Well, and those are all the memories when we go out tonight to the RMEF party.
Yeah.
And we go over and maybe have a few adult beverages, and we're talking. The people that I've shot with, and I know it's been mostly a tight group, but most of us, like we were in Mineral Basin a few years ago, and here's another one of those things that it was funny because we were just talking about a doll sheep, but they had a doll sheep behind a rock again, and me being me, I took the shot, and it's funny because there wasn't because when I took the shot, I hit the rock right in front of it, like that, but my arrow just shot up, and it just kept on going, and all of us, it was Ears and Jesse and Heather and me, and we were just like, holy smoke, that's just amazing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just, I don't know, and I've do hit my targets. You see that.
Oh, yeah.
But it was those little, like, you're off an inch.
Yeah.
And that's what, but they make more arrows.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm here to have fun, and I'm shooting foam, and am I trying to shoot the best I can? I am, but there's other factors that sometimes you don't shoot so well. Lack of sleep because we're talking, reminiscing, and enjoying that, and you go hard because it is one of those things.
Yeah.
You got to just see that. Maybe that's that arrow that I shot.
Yeah, it just literally just landed on me. Just.
But we went and we just have a good time, and I can go home. I have 3D targets at home, and if I want to get tuned in, that's where I can tune in.
Yeah,
because we have cameras that are like right at your nose when you're getting ready to shoot. We're talking. I try to be DJ every once in a while and get people pumped up.
Yeah, you always pick the good music.
I try to.
You got good taste.
Yeah, and you wouldn't see that at any other, like a competition shoot.
No, it's too serious at some of them. Well, and I shouldn't say too, but it's very serious, and I understand that too.
I do too.
But yeah, it's just these events are, we're just here having fun. I mean, think about almost everybody in our group that I was talking to, we were all like getting our bows set up last minute. I mean, I was putting my sight tape on in the parking lot when I got here this morning. I put I glued the last vein of my arrow on at 8:15 the night before, and then hit the road at 9, and we drove all night. And same thing with Matt. He was getting his stuff set up. Sam said he rolled in and he was just getting his stuff dialed in, and I commented. I said, well, that's when you know who the pros are. We're the ones that can set our stuff up the day before and still kill it all day long.
Yeah, because when I came in on Thursday, I mean, I had Brody because I was busy doing other things, walking around, finding my alter ego shooter blanks up there, and I said, "Can you put the sight tape on?" This is amazing. I had Brody at Badass put on my sight tape. And I didn't even go take a shot. We went up because I knew where I needed it and I knew everything. But he put it on. I went up and shot and hit every target.
Yeah.
And hit it good. I mean, me and Mel went up and did that. It was just fun.
Yeah.
But we aren't taking it so serious that you get mad. Yeah. And it's also funny how the group works as we come down the hill. Like, I'll be talking to you this shot, then Sam's behind me, then Jesse or Ashley or Mel or Matt, you know what I mean? Everybody's we just move around because there's no egos there.
Yeah.
In the aspect that we have to be great. It's that we can all talk to each other and have a good time and ask different questions.
Right. Yeah. It's cool. Like and how many times do we meet new people too? Matt and I went out yesterday, shot at 9 on the Sitka course, and it was just him and I, and then there was a group of 2 right behind us, and it's like, well, just come shoot with us, and so we shot the whole course with them and got to know them, and then got to talking about the podcast, and they started following, and saw them this morning and chatted with them, and so it's just really cool, just all the people that you can meet, and you might not ever see that person again, but it's still like,
and it's
awesome.
It's true,
awesome
and it's funny because, like, you came in, and when after we were in the bar there, you waiting for the Warrior Rising party, and I met those people from Sioux Falls, and we exchanged numbers now. It's like and will we get together? I think we will, because I saw him again when I was down at the festival, Mountain Fest, and they said, we'll see you tonight. And those are relationships that last because, I mean, who else will you meet?
Right. Exactly. Yeah, and it's fun. It was funny too because one of the guys that you were talking to, I thought at first was Jesse. Yeah. Like from behind, and so like I was gonna come up from behind and put him like in a headlock or something, just be dumb. And then I kind of skirted around just to make sure. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm not sure who that guy is. And then, but I assumed you had known them for a while.
No, just met them.
And I should never assume that with you because you're like, hey, I just met these guys. Meet them. Say hi. Let's have a Mexican bull rider.
And I was going to go into that. See, how long has that been?
Yeah, so I wanted to go back and for some of the listeners and give you just a little bit of context too, because so when me and Rick first met, it wasn't Total Archery Challenge then. It was Bowcast at the Bird, and so it was just one venue at Snowbird in Utah, and after we had pimped your bow, up to that point, I was a really big fan of Anthony Dixon and Sean Monson. All their videos of Full Moon Productions, and I loved how they like tried to take kind of an artistic like film approach to making a hunting video.
Exactly.
And so I was always like I was kind of a fanboy, and then all of a sudden one day I get a phone call from Sean. Yeah. And I'm guessing it was through you because
I don't know.
He needed to get a bow pimped for that event.
Yeah.
And so Garrett Armstrong from Elite wanted to get a bow that they could raffle off, and so we did this really cool like splash. It went from red,
it was
and
cool.
Then in the middle it blended into silver, and it was anodized. It was polished. I think it was an Elite. Oh boy, what were the models back then? Now I'm drawing a blank.
I can't think of because I started shooting when the Answer came out.
But then
But it was before then.
Yeah.
But it was a gorgeous bow.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. It was really awesome. And then
You had Vapor Trail strings on there.
Yep.
And it was just a beautiful bow.
Yeah, we had it. I think we had an arrow rest on there too. I think we did like kind of a red and black splash anodize on an original limb driver.
Yeah.
Because the Pro V hadn't even been invented yet.
No.
It was, a concept in Jared's mind. But either way, and then Thomas Boot ended up winning that bow. And Thomas Boot was on the Vapor Trail Pro staff at that time. So that was kind of wild.
Oh, he was?
Yeah. Yeah. So he won that bow. He had it for a long time, and then he was actually going to sell it, I don't know, maybe 10 years later or something like that, and he offered it up for me to buy, but I was just like, I didn't have the money, so I was like, yeah, just sell it or whatever. But, so yeah, just for context, so it used to be Bowcast then, and I don't know the exact story as to how it transitioned from Bowcast to TAC to Sean with TAC, but then obviously once those started, you were pretty well involved with that. And
well, I wasn't really. I mean, I was more involved with Bowcast at the time. I knew Sean.
Yeah.
And that's how. And I started hacking on Sean probably from day one that we have a mountain in South Dakota.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then and it's funny because I know I go off track here, but to drive here to go to a Total Archery Challenge in Utah, because that's the only place it was at that time.
Yeah.
And then, and I was hoping that he would start expanding and go in other places.
Yeah.
But I'd say, Sean, we have a mountain in South Dakota. And I think there's some perceptions about when you get a little further west that South Dakota is flat and farmland. And we'll watch Dances with Wolves and this and that. But
out on the prairie.
Yeah, out on the prairie. So then I back off a little bit, and then the next year I have a mountain. And then I came up here and talked to the guys at Terry Peak at the time. And I said, because I actually wanted, if he wasn't going to come, I wanted to show how much fun this place is to people. So I thought, I know it's going to be a lot of work, but I'm going to try to do a shoot like that here. And I was going to talk to the local archery clubs and say, hey, can I rent your targets?
Yeah.
Because I didn't have all the targets. And I thought, let's just get this stuff going. But then potential spam. We don't need to listen to that.
Oh, I was hoping it'd be somebody cool that could jump in on the podcast here with us.
but anyway, but then like the third year, I said, Sean, and I got the mountain, come out and do this. Give it a look. And he finally said yes. And then he came out here, and look what it's become.
Yeah.
And to that point, then there's a lot of pressure on a person. Because, and not that Sean's very smart and in business wise, but to have the belief that you can have a successful shoot here in South Dakota, in here, to have that belief to come here, and it's amazing to have. That made me like I said, there was a lot of pressure, and it made me feel good that somebody will believe in you that much,
right?
That they'll come to South Dakota, and now we're sitting here having a podcast. I think 7 years later.
Yeah, right. So that was gonna be my next question. The first year was here in Terry Peak. What?
It would be. I think it was around 15, I think.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure I was here for that one.
You were, because didn't you? You guys drove out, I think.
Yeah.
Didn't you?
Yep. We came out, and it was just, I was like, if there was never one here, I'd be so bummed out, because then, you know what I mean? Because I can just climb in the car and drive overnight and be here. You know, where all the other events I have to fly to, which is fine too, because some of the others, I like to try to get to them just because of the the views here are amazing. When we were walking around, it was just amazing to see. I mean, even though there's all that smoke that's coming in from the wildfires, you could just see the layers of hills and mountains. But then you get into a place like Big Sky or Snowbird, and it's like, whew,
exactly,
those views are incredible. But going back to what you were talking about tonight at the RMEF party, we're going to have some adult beverages. And some of the memories that, we are constantly making new memories at every TAC because of this drink that we created.
Yes.
At Snowbird, it was the second time that I was there. Ears and I went up for Vapor Trail, and I can't recall exactly what year that was now.
I don't think we would. If it was just the evening part, we will never remember that part.
Yeah, right.
But because that was the year. Do you remember that Ears had that cut on his leg?
Yeah.
And we walk in, and I said, just, you're a hockey player, tough it out, what I mean? And he got it all wrapped up and stuff. And then we go down to the Tram Club.
Yeah.
And then we had the Minnesota South Dakota Pool Championships.
Yeah.
and you know what I mean?
Man, that was...
and then it was $5 PBR, and it was the cheapest tequila Wells, right?
Well, it was a $5 special, and they had a number of tall boys.
Yeah.
So I think you had your choice between like Coors, PBR, Busch Light, whatever. And then so it was a mix and match deal. So you choose your beer, and then you choose your shot.
Yep.
For $5.
Yep.
And at that time, well, I've always kind of really been a tequila guy. I was like, you take a couple of them, get primed for the night, and then you just coast the rest of the night on beer. Well, that night, that was not a primer. That was a...
There was a start.
That was a...
That was a... It was a start and an end, we'll say.
Yeah. And I know we talked about this, but I can't remember who coined the name of it, but we were ordering PBRs and shots of and a shot of tequila, so we called it the Mexican Bull Rider.
Yep.
And we had Brandon Van Dyke in there with us, and we had Eric Welsh with us, the DIY bow hunter, right? Yep. Which great to see that he's doing better. He had some health issues, and now he's doing good. So really good to see that. And then we had Brian Robbins and Ears.
Yep.
And I'd like to proclaim that Ears probably is the one that came up with that name.
I would say so, probably.
But then when I think about it, it's like, well, Eric, I have no idea. I don't think it was me. I
know it wasn't me, but
I mean, I know I can be creative, but I'm not like with the quips like that. Like I'll think about it 3 days later.
Yes.
Ears is like,
he is
like that.
He's right on it.
Yeah. So, but yeah. So now here we are. We're going to be having some Mexican bull riders tonight.
But that's where I was going to go with this. So every time me and you we were at ATA in Louisville. Yeah. And I'm with Ears, and there was a Mexican bull rider right there for him. I mean, they didn't know I was there, but it was funny because it was just sent to him. Mm-hmm. Oh. And it's funny because it was at the PBR bar.
Yep, PBR bar.
And those are things that happen. So last year, Eric Nathy and I were, and my wife and her son and girlfriend, and we were in Cody, Wyoming at a shoot, KBRZ shoot in Cody.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And there's no place to eat in Cody, okay? I mean, we got back from the shoot, it's late, and we went to Cassie's, and they said, well, there's no room to eat. We said okay, but we're walking out. My wife is trying to find a place to eat on her phone, and I stopped, and she kept on walking out the door. And Eric he sat down, and I said, let's have a bull rider. Yeah. And so I lined up the bull riders. Yeah. And everybody had a bull rider there, and then they could see that we're having fun. And the bartender came over and said, "Are you guys waiting for a table?" We said, "No, you're full. We were just having fun." And she said, "Hold on a second." And she went over and got us a table. But then
I love that.
And then to go from there, so we're there, and then we go to yesterday, and the people I just met from Sioux Falls. Yeah. And we lined up a bull rider yesterday.
Yeah, they all jumped in. What was it, like six of us? 6 of us, yeah.
And it's just, I don't know, for us, it's been something. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's one of those things that who knows what other groups have things, but
Yeah.
it's expanding.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just one of those loosen up, let's have fun. And, you don't do any salt, you don't do any lime. You just put down the tequila, you have the PBR, and you chat and you have fun and you get to know people.
Yeah. That's
And
what you do.
who knows where that goes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's the fun part. Because, we were talking about this earlier. I don't know how many bull riders I had that night, but there was a girl in the bar there that she had a little too many somethings. And her last thing was, party on, dudes, and then she was out and done, and
Passed
they
out again.
took out. It was a fun time. Those were fun times. Those are young fun times.
Oh yeah. And then there's the story that Brian Robbins told about him impersonating the deer and the hunter, and I wish I could go back and rehearse it again or redo it, because it had the whole bar up, and everybody was just uproar.
It was. And the funny thing about that, how many people were in that bar that night? It was a tram club, and there was a ton of people in there. How many people were talking? It was all quiet because everybody's watching this show.
Mm-hmm.
And then, because first it's the mule deer, and then it was the hunter.
Yeah.
And it was just hilarious. He was telling about what the deer was going through, and then he went through the hunter, and but everybody's quiet because it was just so funny.
Yeah, and then he kind of went hopping out of the bar like a springing like a mule deer.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. So
no, those are we have all those memories, and that's one thing that will never be taken away from us.
Right. Yeah.
We'll go to our grave with those memories.
Absolutely.
So
So happy that I was able to make things work to get out here.
Yeah.
It's just, I love this crew. All you guys are awesome. Just to, give you the shirt off my back.
Mm-hmm.
Take a bullet for you.
Yeah.
Kind of people. And like you said, the conversations that we have just from target to target, and you kind of mingle with everybody a little bit.
You do.
It's, I don't know.
And you can make, like everybody knows, most people know that I can make fun of myself. So, we have little things that I probably do stupid things out there sometimes, say stupid things. But we have fun, And like you said, I just love that camaraderie.
Yeah.
And this might be the last time I see you this year.
Yeah.
But we could come back next year, and we're sitting here having a conversation just like this.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny you say that, because it is. You're right. It could be, and we definitely want to get out here more, and I think Susan and Cindy get along really well too.
Yeah, they do.
And so I keep trying to push Susan into coming out here for that
Festival in the park?
No, it's the Buffalo Run.
Oh, yeah, the Buffalo Roundup in September.
Yeah, because there's a big art show.
Yes, there is.
I was told about, and so that'd be kind of cool, because I've got some stuff, that I like to use, like natural materials and deer antlers and deer skulls and stuff like that to make art. And then Susan's got her watercolor stuff. But so let's talk a little bit about Project Rick and what that is all about, as far as what's the mission, and tell the people like what you want to get out of it. We'll be right back.
New for the 2023 archery season is our brand new online arrow customizer. Build your Victory or Easton arrows with multiple vane options, configurations, and custom arrow wraps in a large array of designs and colors. Spine indexing and expedited build options are also available, so you can get back out in the field and fling it in style. Check out the Vapor Trail Arrow Customizer at www.vaportrailarchery.com/arrow customizer.
I started Project Rick because I've heard, you keep on hearing how bad social media is, how it's just always negative.
Yeah.
And my thoughts on that was, and I started it actually after my mom died, because I wanted to show how people keep on evolving.
Yeah.
But when I was doing social media before that, it was just so they could see my adventures. So then I turned it into a Project Rick because I want people to see the positives in life. I'm not going to preach that you need to go eat kale, and I'm not going to preach that you need to go lift, but I'm going to do what I'm going to do, and I want you to live life.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about to me. That's what Project Rick's about. And it's positive. You'll never see politics because you don't need. We all know how we believe. I mean, I don't need to keep on preaching that this guy's bad or that guy's bad. We can form our own opinions in that.
Yeah.
But I want you to see, you know what? Let's go on this adventure, and let's see where we go. And I do little adventures, I do big adventures, and I just don't sit still. And I try to, like, I mean, it's before Project Rick, but it was in my back of my mind for a long time. But when I climbed the 100 peaks, the 100 Crow Peak 100, I called it, the people that I got to meet and the positiveness, if I can put a smile on somebody's face, or if I can have them think, maybe I should do that. And that's what it's about to me. I mean, I did 6 peaks with ears this year.
Yeah.
In
one day.
In one day. In South Dakota. It was 35 miles. It was roughly, I think we were close to 8,000 vertical feet by the end. We started at 3:30 in the morning. In South Dakota, we did Black Elk, Crow Peak. We did Blackout. Then we went to Crazy Horse. But, oh, my God, that was a race because there was like 500 people here. And if you want to hear, so I'll tell you the rest of I'll tell you the peaks. So we did Black Elk. We did Crazy Horse. Then we went to Bear Butte. Then we did Lookout. Then we went to Old Baldy, it's called, and we ended at Crow Peak. And Ashley got a cool picture of me on Crow Peak. But I have this picture of my mom and dad that I took on this adventure, and I take them with on most all my adventures, so they're always with me.
Yeah.
And that came from ears. And I just got done registering, and I went to the porta potty, and I had it sitting here so I wouldn't lose it because we went up without a pack on Crazy Horse. We were just going to fly up and fly down. Yeah. And I had it here because I wanted to get the picture, Yeah. And I went to the bathroom, and when I did it, there's a little crack in the porta potty, like there's right beside it, and it fell. With my luck, because if I don't have bad luck most of the time, I don't have any luck at all. It went right through the crack.
Oh,
so
man.
There's guys standing outside waiting to come in to go to the bathroom, and I walked out and I said, man, this is a crazy request, but can you push the toilet over so I can put my arm around it underneath there and get the picture? And he said, what are you talking about? And more or less. And he said, so he did it, though. And I reached out and got my mom's picture, and then we took off. But I bet we passed 500 people that day.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
But it was one. So we did that. So you want to know the positivity. Then we had Jana Fredrickson. She came with us. And then at the end, Ashley and Jesse came. And Troy Niehaus was with us. Actually, 4 of them. And he always was out at Bowcast. He was there actually the night of the Bull Riders, too.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, not to veer off, but he's not here, is he?
He's here tomorrow.
Oh, he will be.
Yeah, he got signed up for tomorrow.
Dang.
So, but anyway, in the end, we were doing Old Baldy, and it's starting to hit us because we were getting tired and dehydrated and maybe a little bit. And but there was always a smile. Except probably our last mile at Old Baldy, there was a lot of quiet.
Yeah.
And we hopped in, and we were driving down, and we get to the Crow Peak parking lot, and Ears did a little video. I said we're ready to go, And it's funny because, yes, I usually drink good stuff, like I was trying to stay hydrated and stuff, and we get to the parking lot, and I did it. I had a Red Bull, and it did give me wings for a while. But we're getting to the top, and this is the same thing that happened with Ears and I. Roughly, not the same, but when on my mountain goat hunt, the last probably quarter mile, Ears was way ahead of me, and he just let me take in the whole what all happened, because I have never ever got so emotional on a hunt till we got to the bottom of that mountain goat hunt. But we're climbing up Crow Peak, and I'm lagging behind, and because I'm the oldest person there anyway, but so I'll use that as an excuse. But I'm lagging behind, but I'm thinking, and we get to the top. There's probably another quarter mile to get to the top, but I just get to the top, where the hard part. And Ears is standing there, and he said, "Look up in the sky." And I said, I was looking up there because I'm mentally tired, and he said, Ears said, it was a beautiful full moon.
Yeah.
And he said, "Your mom's looking down on you now, and you're making her proud."
Yeah, man. Yeah, you are. Yeah.
So, sorry about that.
No, man, no. That's awesome. It's a fantastic moment. I thank you for telling that story. I love that.
But, that's the positiveness
of
being with the people you're with.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And, and it's really cool that in that moment he took that, because, him and I have been on a lot of adventures, and us as guys too, right? Like we don't want to show we don't want to peel away the layers, right? Like we're rugged, and we're and we don't talk about our emotions too much, but when when there's those moments, I've had a few of those with Ears too, where it's just like all of a sudden you're like, oh man, I didn't know. I guess I didn't know you had emotions, you know what I mean? And probably vice versa, right? But but no, I mean it's super cool, and go back to talking about so you guys did the 6 peaks, which is unreal.
Yep.
In one day, and it was really fun to follow along and watch you guys, and admittedly I was a little jealous. I'm like, man, I wish I was there. I wish I would have taken the time to maybe try to make an effort to be a part of it,
Yep.
But then was it last year you did the Crow Peak 100?
Yeah, it was COVID year.
That's right. Yep, it was COVID.
And I didn't know it was going to happen, but it was New Year's Eve before things really started going.
Yeah.
And I got to the top of because I like to challenge myself, and I go up there. This is fun. This is probably a Rick sentimentality thing or something. I don't know. But I usually go up, if I get the chance, I go up on New Year's Eve and watch the sun go down, and then I go back up New Year's Day and watch the sun come up. Just, I don't know, it's like a rebirth or something.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when I was up there on New Year's Eve, I thought, I need to challenge myself to something this year. And I thought, let me see, what can I do that is realistic but hard? And I still should be able to attain it, but it's going to take some work. Yeah. And I went home and thought about it, and I talked to Cindy a little bit about it, and I said, well, I think I want to climb up Crow Peak 100 times, because the joke is, Jesse said, because everybody knew I'd climb Crow Peak because it was just one of my deals. And Jesse said, how many times have you climbed it? I said, I don't know. So I decided I'd climb it 100 times. Yeah. And I did it. I started out doing it, and then I put it on social media, and I was like, holy moly, now I got to do it. Yeah. Or I'm going to look like a candy ass, And, right. But when I got, it's funny that I didn't even know who was following this, but people started really saying, this is cool. Yeah. And you're giving us a lot of emotion. You're showing us what we can do. You know what I mean? Inspiration, and maybe it was a Rickspiration. Who knows? You know.
There you go.
But you know, I mean, and I started taking. I took up probably 15 different people throughout this whole thing, and Bella, it's a chocolate lab.
Mm.
She came up with me 65 times, and then she cut her foot, so she didn't come up for about a month or so. We let it heal up, but we were up there 65 times. But anyway, it was the people that kept on following this, and I was here at Total Archery Challenge, and I'm in the fest, up there with all the booths, and walking around. This guy walks up to me, and he says, "I've lost 30 pounds because of you."
Oh man, that's awesome.
You know what I mean? Because he said, "If you can do it, I can do it."
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And because I'm not, like I said, I'm not the preacher.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to say, you can do this if you put your mind to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I went, now that is cool.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and I went up with, and at that time, you know, everybody's kind of scared because it was not me, but other people are kind of scared of COVID at the time, and we're climbing up and down. I met some people from New York, and they took their granddaughter, and we had a little chat about life and where they lived and stuff. And then I took up a guy that had one kidney, which I didn't know before I took him up, but it was fine. But we had to have a lot of water, and he had to take rest. And at that time, I was in if I was speeding through it, I was doing it in an hour and a half. If I'm taking my time and taking pictures because it's a beautiful day, and it was probably an hour and a half. But with him, it was 6 hours.
Yeah. Wow.
And it was, but you know, you get a guy like that to the top, and they get to see that view, and you get to look through his eyes. Then you go, this is well worth it.
Yeah.
And that's what Project Rick's is about those kind of moments. And you got to live the moment. And right now, we're in a society that needs stuff right now. We are out here doing this podcast on this deck. We were just on a mountain.
Yeah.
Sometimes the sun comes out, sometimes it doesn't. It shines on our face, but we're out here smelling, and we're seeing in the view. And when we go down the mountain, you see the flowers, you see the view, you see the butterflies, and you see, I mean, we all see that stuff. And that when I go up on a mountain or go, like Mel was the first time I ever met her, Melissa, and Frank had called me and said, do you want to go down with her the other night and shoot? And I'm watching her because I watch what kind of person you are. And we're just looking at the flowers. We're looking at what's surrounding us as we shoot. And when you can take in more than just having that focus of, you got to have the focus to shoot the target. I'm not saying that.
Right.
But I'm saying we're looking at the little things around us. I was talking Brandon Lilly. He's with Sorinex. He was a world champion power lifter. And I took him. I didn't take him up, but they went up with us at Big Sky. Bert Soren and Brandon Lilly, and we're shooting, and I'm getting on the ground because the wild strawberries were awesome. And I talked to Brandon actually at TAC at Big Sky this year, and he says, that's one of my favorite memories is we were eating those strawberries all the way down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And those little things, you start seeing that, and then you can pass that on to people about stuff. And we all talk about the views of our world, but you can have a different view than I do, but we get along. I mean, that's what I want to be projecting out there. You know what I mean? There's so much me or I or whatever it is, and they want quick satisfaction. And to me, this is funny, but in college, I did a paper on the difference between pleasure and happiness. And that, I don't know where I picked that up, but I've read an article or read a book about the Dalai Lama that talked about that, and he said that talked about the differences between pleasure and happiness. And then probably 2 years ago, I read they did the Book of Joy with Desmond Tutu, and I am trying to find where that joy is. And I want you to find that joy in your life.
Mm-hmm.
And this isn't a spiritual moment here, but it's about finding that joy.
Mm-hmm.
What makes you feel good inside? What will keep that energy inside you? You know, I mean, we talk about pleasure in a different manner as it's short-lived.
Yeah.
Could pleasure turn into happiness? I mean, like, we could have a bowl of ice cream here, and that's pleasurable to eat, but is that making you happy? And you can be happy, and then you can go into, I'm happy, but I'm not always joyful. But what will make me joyful? So if I can put out in Project Rick or on my adventures, and I can show you that I'm doing these adventures and it's making me joyful, then maybe you'll pick up one little thing and maybe you'll say, that'll make me better.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I'm going with that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying to be, I don't know, I'm just saying I have these thoughts, and I hope that I can express them to people and they enjoy them.
Yeah, and I think, we talked a little bit about that, as we kind of get older and stuff, and you're having these thoughts, and you have all these experiences. There's a nudge, there's a pull from, I don't know if it's God pulling on your spirit or what it is to say, like, hey, you got to let this stuff out. The people need to know about this stuff. You know what I mean? And so I think it's good to get that kind of stuff out. And I'm really been having a great time at, like, the last podcast we did with Josh Wells. I was talking about how much I love to write.
Yeah.
But I've never really felt like I'm a good writer, you know what I mean? But I just, and to do all the inspirational stuff, I'm too much of a perfectionist, so I would spend too much time on it, and then I would just end up scrapping it. So I have all these things written down, and I'm starting to come to terms with the fact that it's like, this stuff is, it's just stuff that you want to get out there. And if people don't like it, so what? Or if they do, hopefully it can resonate with one person. Or whatever, and perfect example is, you're wearing the shirt, "Don't Die Rusty."
Yep.
And that's kind of correct me if I'm wrong, but it's like the slogan for Project Rick,
is.
right? And when I first saw that, because for me, when I see a Project Rick poster, I see a Rick Hanson post, it's right away in the morning. I'm like, it's like the first thing I see when I get in there, and I'm just like, man, here's my daily dose of positivity.
Yep.
And there's been a handful of times where I've had to share it with everybody and say, hey, here's your daily dose. And if you want to get it, go to Project Rick. And when I first saw the "Don't Die Rusty" shirts, I immediately, I dropped everything I was doing and ordered it, and then was like, everybody go order this, just because, I mean, it could mean a lot of things, right? Me knowing you, I know exactly what it means.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like I said, it could have different meanings for different people. But maybe talk a little bit about that.
Well, "Don't Die Rusty" is not just about moving your body, it's about moving your mind.
Mm-hmm.
And it's actually, it's funny that what you just said about the writing part, because in my, I have those quick little rants. I try not to make them long. Like, I wouldn't call them a rant, but it's one of we all have to have that flame, and if your flame is dimmer than my flame, we're making the world a little dimmer place.
Mm-hmm.
So I expand on these writing things. Like, it's funny how you were talking about this, because sometimes I wonder if we are 2.0.
Mm-hmm.
Because I thought, you know what? I'm going to start expanding on these. I on my computer at home, I have expanded on my thoughts that I have, so I can maybe someday put that in a blog or whatever, where that goes. But Don't Die Rusty is, I don't care if we have a troll that's going to knock me down or try to, but you aren't going to knock me down because I'm going to keep on moving, and I'm not going to die rusty. I'm not going to stop because you think that you don't believe in what I'm writing. And I'm not going to write anything that's going to be judgmental, or I'm writing things that are saying, you know what, I'm going to go do this stuff, and I'm going to, because I'm going to do Rick. And Don't Die Rusty, I probably read probably a book every 2 months maybe, because I'm analytical, and sometimes I see this quote and I said, this can go into a post or something, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I read a lot. So your mind isn't dying rusty. You go on these adventures and your body might start wearing out a little bit, you know, I mean, I'm 55, but I can do a lot of stuff yet. And I don't want to go to the grave wishing that I would have, but because I could have. I'm only going to take my memories with me.
Yeah.
And money, I'd rather go on that adventure. So hopefully someday, we talked about this a little bit, if I win lottery or if I came into a bunch of money somewhere, I would like to take people on adventures.
Yeah.
And I would like to look through their eyes, and I want to say, see, this is what you can do.
Yeah.
And this doesn't have to be like, we don't have to go climb Mount Everest,
Right.
but we can go climb Crow Peak. We can go, look at the other day, that Ash DeGray is going to climb all the highest points in the 50 states.
Yeah.
I went with him to Harney Peak, and then we're up there, and he's playing a piano up on Harney Peak, and these older people are going, this is awesome. What did we do that day? They aren't dying rusty either because they're up there.
Yeah.
So I don't want us to become stagnant.
Yeah.
I don't want us to there's a lot of people that will look on a computer or search things, and they can go to Australia or New Zealand or wherever they want to go and say they've been there. But until you go and experience it, you've never been there.
Yeah. Yeah.
You come for the trolls or whoever that says TAC sucks. You've never been there.
Yeah.
If you've never been there and you haven't experienced the fun and camaraderie, you've never been there.
Yeah.
And so I want Don't Die Rusty is going to be my mantra for till I die now. You know, I mean, and I want other people to see that. If they want to believe that, then they can. But I'm going to be 100 years old, hopefully, and I'm going to still be moving.
Yeah.
And those are, I know people that are, my dad, he had 2 knee replacements, and he's walking 3 miles a day. He's 80 years old.
Yeah.
He's not,
It's incredible.
It's one of those things that are amazing to me because then what he does, like, he keeps moving.
Yeah.
And that's why I guess that's the way I grew up, because my dad was always moving, and we're always doing stuff. So that's where I want to go. I want people to experience life and don't die rusty. Don't think that you can't.
Yeah.
So here's another example from my perspective. Last week we went to Casper, Wyoming to my wife's son lives down there, and we went. He's a paramedic, and he goes back and forth from Pierce, South Dakota there, and his girlfriend's she's going to be an occupational therapist, so she was away, and we went down, and check their mail because they couldn't get back there, and they're coming to TAC, and we're going to be here. So let's go on a 4-hour adventure, and we'll just go down there and pick up their mail and get a few things for them and this and that. And so as usual, I get up in the morning and say, well, it's a little before then, I have to say, but we'll get up in the morning. I got to do my sunrise. And I said, well, let's go to Colorado Tack. I don't have a bow, but let's go.
Yeah.
So we jumped in the vehicle and we're heading to Tack. And it's not, we had a tent and we had a sleeping bags in the back. And so we didn't know actually exactly where we were going to end up. And we go to Colorado, and we walk in, and I have to admit, Ears was there, so I knew, I'd get to see him. I hadn't seen him for a long time.
Yeah.
And other people, And we walk in, and it's like, it's just family right then. Yeah. I see Russ and Kelly. I see, I see Brody. I see Ears and Heather, and it's. I meet people that have been following this, and they're saying, you know what, you're doing good. But that was just like boom. But we can go on that adventure. We saw elk. We saw the wildflowers up there were amazing. Frank took us up to the top just to see the wildflowers, and then so the next morning, Frank and I get up, and we go up and take pictures of sunrise again. Just me and Frank, and we get to sit there and meditate and look at the world. We're not really meditate, but we sat there and we just enjoyed the view. And then we hopped in the car. We drove to Steamboat, had lunch, and we got home at 9:30 that night. And I'm working Monday morning. That's all in a Friday after work to a Monday morning. You know what I mean? And anybody can do that.
Yeah.
You don't have to. I'm cheap in the aspect that I'm not going to buy a camper, and I don't have kids, so I don't have little kids. I don't have to worry about that. We can throw it. Well, we did throw the 2-man tent in, but Cindy's getting a little like, if we're going to really go on an adventure, I have a big 6-man Cabela's Outfitter tent, and we have an air mattress, I mean? We got to have that, but this time we didn't know exactly where we're going. We just threw in, I have my 2-man hunting tent that I usually use, and we go. So we don't have to pay for lodging. We're going to eat at home anyway.
Yeah.
And the only thing that's probably going to hurt is our butts driving, but we got to go to Colorado, and we got to see mountains, and we got to see people that we love and cherish. And then we get to drive back, and you're feeling like you filled something. And you know what? The other part is, you probably know this too. I don't know if it's still the 2.0 thing. You will know this, but you get in a car, you and Susan or me and Cindy, there's nowhere to go, so you talk.
Yeah.
And how does that build a relationship? Because you have to talk.
Yeah.
There's nobody else in the car.
Yeah.
And if I'm alone, I probably have the music up louder than Cindy likes. But so she turns it down, so she doesn't have a choice. If you're going to turn down my radio, you're going to have to listen to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I go to the, or either that, or we plug in a Range podcast and we listen to that.
There you go. Yeah, absolutely.
But there's also music can do that to you too. Like,
absolutely, yeah.
There's songs that can mean a lot to you, and they can influence you. Like, so in a couple weeks, we're going down to New Orleans. Cindy's daughter is interning at Cargill.
Oh, right on.
In New Orleans. But she's also in the Naval Reserves.
Okay.
Now don't laugh, but her Naval Reserve Center is in Cheyenne, Wyoming.
Oh.
But it's funny to me, but we're going to fly in Friday, and we're going to drive. We'll probably be there 2 hours, and we're heading to Cheyenne, Wyoming. She has to be there Monday morning at 8:00. But speaking of songs, so I'm a big Whiskey Myers fan.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at our route, and we're going to stop at the timeout off of 155 to take a picture.
Yeah.
But it's about the story,
Yeah.
Broken Window Serenade.
Yeah.
And it's about the story. People, I see trolls say, why would you want to stop there? I don't know. It's because I feel like the boyfriend and is looking at his girlfriend or who he wanted to be his girlfriend at the time out. I can take a picture. Why do people stop at the corner of Winslow, Arizona?
Yeah.
It's just one of those things. But that has influenced me. I don't care if you don't want to stop there, but it's one of those things that the picture of the song will be in my head. You're not dying rusty, because that's one of those things I wanted to see.
Yeah.
I mean, some people might want to see the biggest spool of yarn in the world.
And that's, hey, I'm not going to shame you for that.
No,
That's what you
but
wanna see.
and I know I get off track here, but those are things that I see.
Yeah.
And I want to live life to the fullest, and I want to experience these places.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and some of those are in songs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And some of them are in books. I mean, I don't know if we'll get to this, but like, when I was younger, I'm a big Hemingway fan.
Mm-hmm.
The Sun Also Rises. I wanted to travel his path that he took going to Spain.
Yeah.
And I never did that because I went to Australia and did other things there and lived there for a while and this and that. But those are the things that can influence a person: a book, music, people, so you don't die rusty.
Yeah. Yeah, and I really, the first thing obviously that I think comes to people's mind is, stay active, stay physical, especially if they know you, right?
Yep.
But I like that you said, don't let your mind go rusty either,
Yep.
And it is interesting. I did when I was in the Boundary Waters last year, I was kind of losing my mind. You get into those solitude moments where you haven't spoken to anybody in days, right? And you just have these like random thoughts. And so I just really felt like I had to get this thing out. And I had this like epiphany about the gray hairs in my beard. Each one that comes in is like more knowledge, and all the other ones that haven't turned gray yet are all the knowledge beards that I have yet to learn, right? And I just thought it was profound for some reason, right? And whether people think it is or they don't, doesn't matter. But I guess the point is that you should always be learning.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, I look back at my folks, and I don't think they kind of hit a point and then it was just like coasting through life. You know what I mean? They didn't go on adventures. They didn't do anything. They didn't do none of that. Me and Susan and the kids, I mean, we live that mantra. It's like sometimes it's to the point where we kind of go, man, we almost have to force ourselves to take a break, because it's like we're always like, okay, let's do this weekend, and then we got an art show, and then Rick, you're going to TAC, and now I got an art show that weekend too, so we're scrambling to try to figure that out. And then now we're planning a 4-day trip up into the Boundary Waters with the kids, and then I'm going to go to the Boundary Waters for a week by myself. So it's just constant, but those are the things that kind of fill our bucket. And at the same time, we're getting exercise. We're constantly learning new things. So we don't want to die rusty, man.
No. And
I love that.
And you don't have to go on those. I mean, as we were talking about our parents.
Mm-hmm.
And my parents, I grew up on a ranch.
Mm-hmm.
They were farmer. I mean, my dad was a ranch hand and a farm hand and stuff. But it's like they accepted that's where they're going to be, and they didn't want anything more, because my dad's happy doing what he was doing. I'm not saying, but I always wanted more.
Yeah.
I always wanted to smell the rose or see or do or whatever, and that's why I want to go. But then, like I said, it's amazing to me that they supported my adventures even when I was young. When I was young, this is I know this is off base maybe, but I always wanted to climb Everest. Okay.
Yeah.
In central South Dakota, we get blizzards and they get cold, and my mom would get so mad at me. But I would go out it's 10, 20 below, and I would go out and with a headlamp on, and I'd walk down. I'd go for a long walk, like it was probably a mile or two in this cold, just say, so I could experience this kind of weather at least. I may never be able to climb Mount Everest, but I'm in the weather, you know what I mean? I'm experiencing something, and that was an adventure. And then when I didn't know what I wanted to do in life, I went and lived with my mom and dad, and I saved up all my money. I got in this, it was kind of a ranch exchange, farm exchange program. And I went to Australia, and for the first 6 months I worked. The second, I did other things. I got to experience life. And all I ever wanted them to do was be proud of me.
Yeah.
And they got to live those adventures with me. And so anybody can do this stuff.
Yeah.
If you put your mind to it. What do you want out of life? You know, Cindy and I have only been married 3 years, but we dated for a long time. But we had a little land on top of, in Spearfish, and we were going to build a house, and we found this other house, so we sold the land because we don't want to live for a house payment. I want to be able to go do things, and so does Cindy. And then and it's funny because our relationship is, she's more of the probably, she'll like this, but she's more of the like, probably has more sense of not being so spontaneous as me. She's probably smarter because, I mean, I have this headset on and I don't know, but I'm bald mostly on this top, and most of that is because I said, why the hell did I do that? You know what I mean? but I came out of it alive, so we're all right, you know. But she's probably has more common sense in that area of life than me, but I've taken her places that she would have never went before.
Yeah.
She's coming up. This is funny. She's probably over there at the Mountain Fest right now.
Yeah.
And she's making friends, and I mean, she has friends, but she's making friends and doing stuff. She would have never came here, and
right.
You know what I mean? And her son's over there shooting with his friend. And so I just think that in life, I just have this passion, and I really wish I just have this passion of everybody, you can do stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just dream. Some of those dreams may never come true, but you can have those dreams. Like when I get a lottery ticket, say I bought it I have 2 days to dream about what I would do with that lottery ticket. You can still dream big. People say some dreams aren't going to be attained. Maybe they won't, but you know what? They're always going to keep your mind going.
Yeah.
What would I do if I won the lottery? Especially now when I think I saw it was $875 million. What would I do? You know what I mean? It'd be like, what would I do? Like I said, I'd take people on adventures, and we would go on a hunt somewhere. My other buddy Ben, from home, we're going. I'd force him. I don't think it'd be a big force. But I'm going to go get a Marco Polo. That is my top. If I could go hunt any animal in the whole world, it'd be Marco Polo.
Oh, really?
I don't care
cool.
about Africa. I want a Marco Polo.
Yeah.
And it's not because I don't want to go to I figure you're sitting in a tree stand, or not a tree stand, but a blind in Africa. It's where they live.
Yeah.
You know what? It's testing yourself. You're not dying. You're moving if you're in the mountains looking for a Marco Polo.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I've just always had this dream of shooting a Marco Polo. And unless I win lottery, I'll never do it anyway. But that's a dream.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what? And I can live vicariously through dreams. Like last year, I got lucky. I'll say I got lucky. But, you know, Jason Matzinger went and shot his Dall sheep.
Yeah.
I may never, ever go hunting a Dall sheep. But last year at TAC in Big Sky, I got to eat some of Jason's Dall sheep.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, the
Right
flip-flop
on.
guy was cooked up a shoulder.
Okay, nice.
So he has his stuff coming out about the doll sheep hunt.
Yeah.
Selective. And guess what? I may not have experienced that hunt, but I got to eat part of that doll sheep.
Yeah, I mean, it's just amazing to think about how many people's lives are impacted by just something as simple as that, you know?
Yes, and here's the funny thing. Jason probably doesn't even know that I feel that I experienced this hunt with him by having a little of that sheep.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
He influenced me.
Mm.
You guys have, everybody around influences somebody somehow.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And as long as it's good, I can watch. I guess I shouldn't say as long as it's good, but what if, as long as we learn that there are bad things and bad people in this world, and we keep on trying to make the world a better place, that's going to be the best. Because, how do we make the world a better place unless we're better?
Yeah.
And if we can keep making people better, let's do that.
Right.
So don't let the world rust.
Yeah.
Maybe that'll be another. Don't let the
There you
world
go.
rust. But
there you go. Yeah.
because we need to keep moving. We need to see that there's life out there.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I know I'm ranting. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. This is perfect, and it blows my mind that there's people that haven't really like explored much of the world, you know. And I go, well, I just think in my head like, well, so what do you do? Like what, you know what I mean? Or, you know, and you got people that play video games and do stuff like that, and that's their thing, and that's okay, you know. But it's like, you know, I don't know what I would do without shooting a bow and being outside, and it's done. It's just crazy to think what a bow how it has steered my life and my friendships and my relationships and everything that I do, you know, and with Vapor Trail and with all of that, you know what I mean, just constantly, always, every day being immersed in it. And sometimes it saddens me to think that if that ever changed, you know, you just never know what kind of stuff gets thrown at you in life, you know what I mean? It doesn't mean that I would ever stop shooting a bow. I'm just talking about like with my career.
Here, I'm sorry but here's another example. There's I don't know if you wanted. I'll say Bob is his name. He won the habitat hunt here in South Dakota that you get to shoot an elk, a deer, and an antelope.
Oh wow!
And he is 83 years old.
Wow!
And he called me. He got my number from one of my friends, and he. I didn't know this, but he was like a month from turning 84. And when we talk about having the bow in the hand,
yeah.
So I took off time from work just to go hunting with him because I thought this is going to be awesome.
Yeah.
And which it was.
Yeah.
And me and him had so many great conversations. And he said he wanted to get a 6-point bow. And I had a 5-point bow. I mean, we had a couple opportunities at a 6-point bow, but being 84, you're a little bit slower. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But he had his bow in his hand. I said, and we were talking, and I said, well, because he can hunt anywhere in the state, and we have places that he could hunt with a rifle. And he says, I'm not gonna do that. If I don't kill a bull with my bow, I'm not gonna shoot anything.
That's just incredible. I love that.
And you know what? And I think to myself, he's 84, going to be 84, and he will not put down his bow. But I had bulls. I have a few bulls that were. We just need a little more movement. And then I got really mad at one guy because I don't know if he knows what a windicator is. And he's out scouting and taking pictures. Mm-hmm. And we're on this bull, me and him, and I could get 3 miles. And I think this is another thing that why you liked hunting with me is because I could get a good 3 miles out of him a day. And then we'd usually do a hunt in the morning and then we would put him in the blind in the evening. And, he enjoyed that I had the belief that he could go walk these mountains at 83.
Yeah.
And he was hunting here in the Black Hills, and we were having a good old time because of a bow.
Yeah.
Because the friend that told me about him, he didn't live here, but he just kind of said, you might want to talk to Rick. And I got this phone call, and I was like, you know what? I'll take my vacation time to go hunt with you.
Yeah.
Because it's an experience.
Yeah.
That's unselfish. I mean, I'm not trying to make myself, but it's unselfish. But maybe it was selfish because I learned a lot from an 83-year-old fella. My dad was 79, and this is, I know this is a funny hunting story. I don't know if I told you this one.
Tell it.
And my dad, but this is the funniest. So my dad was 79. I think he was he was 79 when he had he has a crossbow. Okay. And I took him elk hunting. He drew his tag in South Dakota. And the first day and my dad can't hear like real well.
Okay.
He can't hear the bugles.
Oh, okay.
Because they're high pitched or
Yeah.
something. I don't know. And we had elk coming across in front of us, and we had this and that. It was just one of those exciting days. We're seeing bulls, and they're bugling, and I'm going, they're over here. You know what I mean? I'm all excited, just trying to get him excited. And so we snuck through the woods, and this is like, I think it was maybe a month and a half before his first knee replacement. So he has a hurt knee. He can't go very fast and very far. And I got him down into this little area, and I said, sit here, just stand here, and I'm going to go back about 40 yards. I'm going to put up my Montana decoy, and I'm going to start calling.
What state were you in?
We were in South Dakota.
Oh, okay.
And he said, okay, and he got all set up and ready to go. And there's this big pine tree. I mean, it's about this big. And it's right behind. I mean, he has his head just kind of in front of it. And I start bugling and calling. And all this is probably a 320 bull. I mean, he is running in. And my dad can't see it because his head, he doesn't have peripheral vision.
Oh.
I mean, in that aspect, because of the trees in his way. And I'm going, and he's coming in hard. I mean, he's like just about running in to come and fight me. and my dad, I'm seeing that my dad isn't seeing this. And I'm making the worst bugles you can ever howl, just trying to get his attention because I don't want to yell. And I'm thinking, well, you know what? This is going to be exciting. And I'm going to say he got probably 7 yards from my dad. And then my dad had saw him, and he didn't know what to do. I mean, it was like, do I move or not? Because then all of a sudden the bull just went. And this is how close he was. My dad finally heard it because of the footsteps.
Right.
Not because of the bugling. And
oh, man.
And the elk took off, and so he stopped, and the elk was like, this is not right. And he swung around, and my dad swung around, and there's branches in the way he couldn't get a shot. And my dad's kicking himself. Like, I just screwed this up. And I'm being all happy and I'm trying to be positive, I should say. And I'm saying, you know what? It'll happen again. And we went and sat at this pond that afternoon, and my dad actually said, I said, do you want to go back to cabin and sleep? Because my uncle has a cabin kind of close where we were. And he says, there are no elk in the cabin. I said, that's very true, So the next day we get up, and I wanted to check out a couple areas, and there's people there, and I felt like I was wasting time. And then we got to this other place, and there's a bull ran right across in front of us. And we tried getting on him, and it didn't work. And then I said, we moved a little bit further down the road, and we started walking a little bit, and I said, there's a bunch of elk down here, and I can't hear them. Okay. So I said, same scenario here. All right. So that morning we go in, and I said, Dad, go down here. and sit here, but don't put your head behind a tree this time. And I started calling, and here comes the herd. And he had spikes, he had cows, he had raghorns, and the big bull was just staying back a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I called him in, and they're surrounding him. And he said, you know what? I thought they were going to get nervous and leave. And he shot a raghorn bull.
Mm-hmm.
And that was probably the happiest time because he actually heard the bugles this time, because they were close enough.
Mm-hmm.
And the little raghorns are bugling.
Yeah.
But he got to hear and see. He got at 70, about 80 years old, he gets the full effect of a archery elk hunt, and it was just one of those, like, I mean, I'm not being, but it was a magical moment.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure.
And I got to, and those, as we talk, I'm going to take that memory with me because we aren't videoing this stuff.
Right.
I mean,
yeah.
I wish I would have had the video of that elk when it got close to him. but we have all these elk around us, him, and he got to experience that. He probably won't get to do it ever again. I mean, for drawing a tag.
Yeah, right.
And those are the things that a bow does, because I have had adventures, and I shot a mountain goat, I've shot a 200-inch whitetail, I've done stuff, and I've shot elk, and all with a bow.
Yeah.
And there's days that you want to throw that bow down because you screwed up or something happened.
Yeah.
But you know what? You got to experience that, and you get to go back tomorrow, and you got to try to do it. And that's what I was trying to say with my dad.
Mm-hmm.
The day before, he had that bull right next to him, but the next day, he got to experience the whole thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's the life with a bow, because, I mean, I think when we and you got together, started really talking, when I shot my 200-incher, and I never sat in tree stands. I hate tree stands just because I just hate them.
Yeah.
But I'm in a tree stand because I had no choice because of the way the crops were where I was hunting.
Mm-hmm.
And I had and I know it because I saw the buck. It's a 152-inch buck was coming in.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking, but I really don't miss. And I had him, I was going to say, how am I going to have him mounted? And I'm getting overconfident here.
Uh-huh.
And I missed him because I was twisted around the tree, and I was like, and I missed him, and I go home and I am pissed.
Yeah.
I am just like, I'm livid with myself because I just screwed this up.
Yeah.
And my mom said, you missed for a reason. And so the next few, I thought, well, you know what, maybe I did. So I went and I hunted. I had 2 or 3 more days to hunt, and I got to it's funny because I hunted hard and I saw a few more deer, but nothing I really wanted to shoot. And I'm still pissed about that. And I thought, well, I'm going to burn out this tree stand, so hopefully it comes in.
Yeah.
And that day, it was like a Sunday afternoon. It was late, and these pheasant hunters go by my vehicle, and they come in and start shooting. So you want to know disappointment with your bow, so I left. I'm mad because tons of shooting.
Yeah.
And you feel like you wasted your day. And I'm driving around the road, and where I live, I had permission to hunt land, and I see this buck out in this field, and I'm a spot and stock whitetail hunter, and that was making me feel good because I could go spot and stock this whitetail, and I thought, well, he's a good buck, he's going to go 160, and he was chasing 3 does, but there was a little buck chasing the does too. And I jumped out, and like I said, I had permission for the land, and it's this hayfield, and I'm running, crawling, and I get out there, and as luck would have it, the does there's bale stacks out there,
Okay.
and the big buck chased the little buck just enough, and the does come out, and I'm saying they're 25 yards away, and I said, so I'm ready, and here comes the buck, and I'm saying to myself, pick a spot.
Yeah.
Don't look at the horns. Pick a spot.
Yeah.
Because I knew he was good, and I shot him, and it's funny because when I shot him, he stopped right in front of me, and I was already drawn. Picked a spot, arrows on the way, and he took off, and I ran up the bales just to see where he went, and he went into the shelter belt, and so I'm thinking this is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I went down and got the arrow, and I went. It was a good shot. I know I made a good shot.
Okay.
But there was just drops of blood, just drops.
Yes.
And my dad's out combine, and he said he needed a couple hoppers full before he filled up a semi. And I called my cousin, who had he shot a 183 incher, and I thought this is going to be the biggest whitetail I've ever been on when I went and helped him find it. And then he found it before I got there, but that's besides the point. But I called him up. I said, "Can you guys bring out?" When Dad gets home, we'll get out spotlights. We'll go try to find him because I said I know I made a good hit on him. So I drove back to my mom and dad's just to. Yeah, I thought if I don't, I'm going to want to go after him, and I know I made a good hit, but I'm questioning myself then.
Sure.
So we go back out, and my dad said, "Where do you want to start?" Because I wanted us to all just kind of walk down and look for blood. My dad swung around, and there he was laying. Awesome. But his head's behind a plum bush.
Okay.
And then we see when he jumped over the fence, there's fat that covered his holes. It was a complete pass-through.
Okay.
And it looked like a war went off. There's blood all over. If I would have known that, I wouldn't have called anybody. So I jump over the fence, and I look back. I go behind the tree, and I go, "Oh my gosh, this!" And they still haven't seen the head. And then my cousin comes around and went, "Holy smokes!" And and that one ultimately went 201 gross. And what I'm saying, but the point I'm getting to is, I had bad experience with the bow 3 days before because of my overconfidence and whatever was in my mind. And 3 days later with a bow, I shoot a 200 incher. And how many people dream of that? How many people dream of shooting a 200 inch whitetail? And
I would say probably everybody that hunts them.
And not everybody's going to attain a 200 inch whitetail, but you can dream about it. That's Don't Die Rusty right there. Yeah. That's what the bow has done to me. You know what I mean? The bow is, if we were shooting rifles, this is how we'd look because we have to have ear protection on. But when we're shooting bows, we get to talk to each other. We get to experience more with a bow, and we get to go a lot of places that makes it hard. But if we make it a hard hunt is a memorable hunt.
Absolutely.
And that's where the adventure comes in. Adventure doesn't come when it's easy.
Yeah, I mean, and I've said that before too, where it's like nothing good really comes easy. You know, I mean, and that's just from experiences in life. You know what I mean? I look back at some of the hardest times in life when you're, down deep in those valleys and you're questioning what's going on, like what's the deal, why is this happening? And then you come out of it on the other side and you kind of go, okay, all right, I see what's going on here. I'm looking at, I'm picking up what you're laying down there, and so and yeah, I think it applies to anything and everything. You know what I mean? Just part of the reason why we put ourselves through the suffering of sitting in a tree stand for hours on end and freezing our butts off, or climbing, over the next ridge, or whatever that is. For everybody it might be a little bit different, but yeah, I wanted to say something too about when you were talking about hunting with your dad. And now obviously the bow, has steered our lives in a profound way, right?
Yeah.
But not even just that, just hunting in general. Like for me, when I was a kid, my dad, he worked, constantly all the time, and he did the 4 on, 4 off, that kind of stuff. But then he had a side business, so on his days that he was off, he was doing the side business. And then it was like, so hunting with him, we didn't bow hunt, we rifle hunted, but hunting with him was the only time I got with him. It was the only time, and we didn't really talk much either, honestly. I mean, but we didn't have to.
Nope.
It was just time spent.
Yeah.
And so just being able to, Melissa, for example, today being an adult onset hunter and just starting, like, it's so fun to have somebody like that in our crew because, and especially with her type of personality, because she's not afraid to ask questions either. So it's just like now we have this opportunity to like spill out our knowledge.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And say, shoot this kind of rest, or even with Sam, he was like, these are the things that you're going to want when you're in Alaska. Maybe these are some things you don't need. And just, so those kinds of things too. And just to see the joy that this puts on a person's face who, all the way up through their life just started shooting a bow last year.
Yeah.
And is now going on these incredible adventures to Alaska, or, so it's just the bow for sure, but just hunting in general also is just such a huge, profound thing when it comes to like the human connection.
And like you're saying, how did you feel? Like she's asking us all kinds of questions, and we're pouring out the knowledge. I mean, we're pouring out what we know, and not that everything we know is somebody else might have a different perspective, but she's asking questions.
Yeah.
And it makes you feel good that she's like a sponge.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she's, oh, this is why you do this, I mean, she was looking at all of our bows.
Yeah.
I mean, and she's looking at, and she's asking questions that a lot of people wouldn't really ask. And then she talks to Sam about what does she need to take to Alaska and food. And to me, that's like, if it starts feeling you full, like, I don't want to live a filled life. I want to live a fulfilled life.
Yeah.
And that fulfills you inside, that somebody is taking and has the energy to, and you're helping her. And just like what we talk about with Jason's doll sheep, if she goes on and gets a big animal in her hunting as an adult onset hunter, maybe we were part of that.
Yeah.
Maybe, you know what I mean? So we can be fulfilled. And in the relationships that we have now, we're going to know if she got that because she'll probably text us or call us.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just such a cool thing. Like, just super grateful that I was able to be here. My poor wife is back home. Just, she's getting slammed right now at the Minnehaha Art Festival, which is good, you know what I mean? Because it's that again, going back to, the fulfillment, but then also just the verification of knowing that she has talent and people want it. You just got to get it in the right place.
Exactly.
And then that makes me think about, too, what you said about when you went to Colorado and you walked into that room and there's your family. And everybody there is giving you some validation, saying the Don't Die Rusty thing is great. Like, you're doing a good job, Project Rick. Keep it up, keep it up, keep it up. I wish people would do that more.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? I wish people would do that more, because I wonder like that with the podcast too. I have no idea who's listening to it. I have no clue. I mean, I do know some people, will make some comments, but I know how many downloads it gets, but there's not much feedback. Give me some feedback, people.
Well, and I would have to say that I'm probably guilty of, because I like listening, but I don't really say much, but
I am too, for sure.
You know what I mean?
I need to take that advice as well.
Yeah, because I try to support friends, and I try to support everybody in that situation. But I don't think, I'm going, what am I going to say? I mean, because I liked it, but do I have to go any further than that, or what do you know what I mean? And and it's funny because I tell you, oh, that was a good podcast, but I don't write it down.
Yeah, well, and that's okay. But
you know what I mean. But it helps you if I would write a comment.
Oh, well, the commenting thing, that's just when it comes down to social media, I mean, that's just it has more weight in getting more reach, I guess, as opposed to just getting a quick like or whatever.
Yeah.
But either way, it's so now I find myself, and since I've gotten into the marketing side of things, and I've been doing a lot of the posting and stuff on the Vapor Trail and Stokerized pages, well, actually, Damon Wolf from All for One Creative does the posting now. I just kind of oversee it, but since I've immersed myself in all of that, as I'm scrolling, it's like bam, bam, I'm liking everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And sometimes I don't have time to read like the full caption, which is unfortunate, because that's the other thing too, is like people don't really read captions much anymore unless you give them like a call to action and say like, hey, make sure you read this down here. There's some important information that you need to know. But yeah, I mean,
and that's what like some of the posts I've been making, I mean, I want to get people to read stuff because I want to change, at least get them to look at a perspective. And I think once people start commenting on it, because some people do read them, and then other people start reading them, and that makes you feel good that now maybe we're getting somewhere. But let's just keep that flame going.
Yeah.
Let's keep that fire. It doesn't have to be a bonfire. Let's keep the fire going inside us.
Absolutely.
And let's help each other out. And let's say, you know what, Ricky, I like you. You know what I mean? Or let's say, are you having a bad day? I mean, those are the things that were, earlier on in this podcast, but people don't say that as much as they should.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and that made me think of another thing too, and my wife has helped me out with this a little bit too, where it's, you always, when you run into people, you always have that, hey, how you doing, man? Oh, I'm doing great. And it's like, and then that's it. And then, but it's like, no, but really, like, how are you? You know what I mean? Like, I don't think people do that enough either. Like, how are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, what? Spill it out, man. Like, if you gotta, I'm your verbal punching bag right now.
Exactly.
Get it out. So those things too. And it, going back to what you're saying, how it's just like this instant gratification. Like, we've gotten to this point now where, we just simply don't give ourselves the time to do that kind of stuff, or even in some cases, maybe, I don't want to burden you with all of my stuff, you know what I mean? But I feel like if somebody was to say, lay it on me, man. Like, what's going on, and you don't necessarily have to lay out all your junk on somebody, but at least it lets you know that it's like, man, they really took the time to want to know what's going on with me.
And how many times and probably in the last few months, really, I call and ask for advice.
Yeah.
About things that I want to do. And I'm going to say, though, this has been going on in my head while we've been talking here, but do we really want our wives to get together? They both are kind of hippie-ish, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We may not live this down.
Yeah.
Crystals in our, I already have crystals. Oils.
Oils and crystals and all kinds of.
Can you imagine if we were, oh, Jiminy Christ. I guess we just
funny.
we just let them go do.
Yeah, they go do their thing, and we'll be over here shooting our bows.
There we
go. Well, heck yeah, man. We could do this for hours. We really could, but I think we should probably cut it short and get our butts up to that the the
RMEF party.
Yeah, the
festival.
The Total Archery Challenge, I think, is what it's called.
Oh, I
something
think.
like
Is that what it is?
Yeah, and there's it's called the Mountain Festival.
Yes.
Probably go check that out. Bring our bows up there. Maybe try to shoot and win a truck or something. I don't know. I think there's an Africa trip being given away.
Yes.
So yeah, that should be fun.
Yeah.
RMEF party tonight. Have a few Mexican bull riders and.
We'll just enjoy life. Hey
man, well this has been awesome.
Yeah.
So if people want to find you, your Instagram, Facebook, where can they find you?
Rick Hanson 24 on Instagram, Project Rick on Instagram, Facebook it's Rick Hanson, and it's also Project Rick too.
Yeah.
I'm working into getting more. I'm trying to get more content on Project Rick because I want people to go there, but if you want to see every day, I try to get something out positive every day. And it starts in the morning.
Yeah. And for the T-shirts, so if they seek out your social media channels, then will they be able to then find out where they can get the T-shirt too?
Well, we're working on that one too.
Okay.
I kind of put the cart before the horse in a few situations.
Sure.
You know that. But,
sure.
But I'm working on getting things a little bit easier, and then hopefully down the road here, I'm going to have a couple different designs that don't die rusty.
Sure.
And we'll go from there.
Yeah. So I'll be sure to get a couple of the links up on the banners and in the description on the YouTube video.
Now we're in trouble.
Oh boy. Oh, they're back.
Here comes the wife too.
She looks mad.
I bet she does.
Should we keep it going so that she can come in here?
Come on out here, dear.
Oh, she does have a smile on her face.
She does.
That's fantastic.
Because she knows that she's going to get some of Susan's art.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, let's close this up with that. We are going to pack up our bows and arrows, and we are going to leave the range. Thank you for joining us, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Vapor Trail is now offering an exclusive discount to the Range Podcast listeners. Enter promo code TRP15, that's TRP15, at checkout for 15% off VTX bowstrings and Vapor Trail and Stokerized branded t-shirts, hats, and other gear.